And the final in the top 10 list, last but not least, is discriminatory practices. And again, we've touched on this a little bit earlier, but any organization, any charity with faith beliefs and lifestyle expectations, or whose boards set policies and procedures regarding employee hiring, suspension, termination, member discipline and removal, or even use of outside groups of your facilities. You have to be careful about allowing use to some groups and not others in your community based on your beliefs. And there are some strict guidelines for what you can and cannot do there. Some churches actually have chosen not to allow their facilities to outside groups and organizations precisely for that reason, because they get caught up in then having to allow access for everyone in the community. Discriminatory practices can result in litigation from employees, members, volunteers, outside individuals, community associations, or charities who use or want to use your facilities. And we have seen these kinds of claims starting to come up regularly against Christian churches and charities. Source of coverage, again, discriminatory practices. If it's a form of personal injury, it would be your general liability coverage. And if it's a breach of duty or setting policies or guidelines, it could be a director's and officer's liability claim. Depending on how the claim is framed, it could involve one or both types of coverage. And that finishes our top 10 list of risks, and hopefully that gives you some perspective on what kinds of risks your organization faces. And some of these items may or may not be applicable or important to your organization or might have a lesser priority. But as you review your risks and as you look at what you're doing and how you're doing them, keep these 10 items in mind and just remember that even though you haven't, as an organization, perhaps been touched by litigation, it doesn't mean that this can't happen, because it is happening in other churches. And not just large churches, but small churches, churches in urban areas, churches in rural areas. And if you're involved in any of these activities, there is certainly a potential for litigation against your church.